Hello again. Welcome back. Today I have, in my last collection spotlight video, I said that I would probably talk about my first commission, and I did plan to do that. But today I thought it might be kind of fun to do something that's a little more timely. So in various art Facebook groups, this is the time of year where everyone kind of shares their top pickups of the year. Um, and I thought I would do that on video. And so my criteria for the list is I'm going to do a top five pickups with one honorable mention. And the way I split it was I'm limiting the five spots to published pieces that I picked up, and the honorable mention spot is going to be a my favorite commission that I picked up this year. So I'm just going to jump right into it because it might be a long one. I don't know how long this is going to go, but uh, we'll start with the honorable mention, and it's one of the first pieces that I got. Actually, I'll do this. I'll slide over here, and then I'll put pictures up here, and then I'll talk about it as well. This was probably the first commission that I picked up this year, back in January. It's a commission by Butch Geis. I've talked about the death and return of Superman, and this is the single most important story in my comics loving DNA, and it's a story that I have revisited the most over the years. I read it all the time. So when I asked, this is actually the second commission that I picked up from Butch. One I got last year. Um, Now I'll put the picture there. The idea was that I picked up an Eradicator commission from him last year, and then when the opportunity was to pick up a second piece. I really wanted something that had the black suit Superman, because he drew him when he right before he debuted. When he was in the Fortress of Solitude, Butch was drawing that issue, and what I wanted to do was throughout the Return of Superman story, you saw this character that was teased on the covers, and you kind of thought it was the Eradicator who was in the Fortress of Solitude looking at the other replacement Superman. But in reality, it was the true Superman. But in order to kind of keep that ruse alive, I think this is one of the reasons. But you always saw him with short hair. Of course, when he debuted, he had the longer hair. So the idea was to have a piece that showed him with the longer hair in the Fortress of Solitude, as if he was the one, he was the one truly watching the other four replacements, and also to add Eradicator in there. So, so the idea was to have Superman there, kind of ready to jump back into action, with the placement of the monitors had the pictures of the replacement Superman, and they also have the Kryptonian service droids there to, they were a big part of his resurgence. So this is, everyone says, oh, this is a cover quality commission, and I agree. This could easily be a cover. I could see it as one. And I also love that it's Butch's more evolved style. He has these days he has a grittier realism. His realism has always been there, but now it's a little grittier, and I think this is really cool. So I think that really shines when you look at Cyborg Superman's face, and then you have Eradicator in the rain, and I love the metal sheen of the details added into to give Steel's suit that look of metal. So all around, this one is just kind of a perfect piece in my mind. So so that's the honorable mention spot. That's the one commission I'm going to highlight. Everything else is going to be published pieces, and I'm going to rank them. I'll do like 5 down to 1, and all of them are great in my opinion. But I kind of force myself to actually rank them. So all right, so we'll put this one down, and the next piece is from a newer artist that I'll try to talk about. Teaser. I'll have something coming around soon. Probably my first video and the first of the year will be art from this artist, and the artist is Tom Riley. So to stick with that Superman theme, that '90s Superman theme, he did a cover for a miniseries this year with Superboy, the Man of Tomorrow, and this is a variant cover for issue 3. It has nothing to do with the story, but what I love is just it's a joyous piece. You look at this, Superboy, airwalking Crypto, and it just makes me happy looking at it. And it's a good example of I didn't read the miniseries because I talked about it in my last video. While I love these characters, while I love this take on them, this era, it's not necessarily that Superboy. This Superboy is my favorite. So I don't necessarily read everything that features him, even though he's back in current comics. But with this cover being it's Tom Riley, I'm a huge fan of his work, and he had that 90s Superboy look. And also we have a dog. We're dog owners. So to have him there with Crypto, this one absolutely spoke to me. This is one that I haven't done it yet. I always say I'm behind on framing. I need to work on that. That's actually one of my goals for 2024 is to finally get things where I want them to be. So, but yeah, this is one that I can hang, and it's also one that I could probably sneak into the house somewhere. Because it's just you look at it and it makes you happy. So yeah, so that's my number 5. We'll move on to number 4. Another artist that I've actually opened art from this artist in a previous video. Also one of my favorites, my favorite artists, and that's Ramona Fiore. And this is a piece that I don't know that this piece will always stay in my collection. Just because it's not necessarily the characters that I gravitate towards, but it's the opportunity to get this page, and it's a beautiful page. It makes my top 5 because I never thought I would own something from kind of like this era from this artist. So it's Ramona Fiore, inked by Joe Sinnott. It's Fantastic Four number 133 from 1972, 73. It's them on New Year's Eve. Yeah, so it's 72 into 73. And this is a great page. I mean, I love the New Year's celebration is going on around them. At the time, Sue and I couldn't tell you why because I don't know. I liked Fantastic Four, but I never read this era of the comics. So Sue left the Fantastic Four, and I guess Johnny broke up with Crystal. So they're very down. They're sad. So on New Year's Eve, you're supposed to be with the ones that you love. Sue's gone. Crystal's gone. But there you have Ben Grimm, the Thing, there with the love at his arm. So yeah, it's really, I like that he's the grotesque Thing, but he's the one that's happy on New Year's Eve with the one that he loves. So yeah, this is actually the only issue that Ramona Fiore did on Fantastic Four. She's more associated with DC properties, Aquaman, Plastic Man, Metamorpho, and I would love to get something. That's kind of a goal for 2024. I don't know if it's going to happen, but something from Metamorpho would be amazing. An Aquaman page of hers would be, yeah, that would be fantastic. But for the time being, this is my representation, and I might just, I'm not saying I'm getting rid of this page. I'm just saying that you kind of like look at your collection and you can identify, if I got something that spoke to me more, as an example, I might let this one go. And I think that's, side note, I think that's important. I think, it's good to look at your collection, and as you kind of pick up pieces and, you curate what you have, it's okay to let things go. And, I did that a lot this year. I took a look at what I had. I trimmed some some pieces. I had some Star Wars. I'm a big Star Wars fan. I had some Star Wars art, but just a few, and they weren't necessarily a complete representation of what I liked about Star Wars comics. So I thought, okay, let's trim that, um, and I'll sell off the Star Wars art, and then put it back into other pieces, which I did. Uh, yeah, okay. Back to the top five. So yeah, this is my top four because of it's Ramona Fraden. Her work always gives me looking at it just gives me such joy, um, and yeah, and this is the only time that Joe Sinnott inked Ramona Fraden to my knowledge on this one issue of Fantastic Four. And I always knew that she did this issue. It's just I never thought that there's only what 20 however many pages in a comic that exist out there. So to be able to have one of them is was really special, and that's why it makes the top five at number four. So okay, moving on to number three is it's probably the character that I was most excited about this year, and that character is Gunslinger Spawn. I've always liked the Western motif, um, and then I've always liked Brett Booth's art from. I mean, this isn't Brett Booth, but uh, so I was reading the series because I like Brett Booth's art. It gives that energetic '90s feel that I gravitate towards. I love. So yeah, so I've been a big fan of the Gunslinger Spawn series. It's not gonna win, the best writing comic of the year. Just because Todd McFarlane always writes for 13-year-old boys, and you know what? Sometimes I just want to read a comic that's aimed for 13-year-old boys because it's just fun. So anyway, that series is great. But what I have here is by Chris Stevens. It is the cover A to Gunslinger Spawn number 21. And Chris Stevens was one, when I started collecting art, I wasn't familiar with. But, being in the different Facebook groups, you see his commissions. The color work on his commissions are amazing. So in this year, what Todd McFarlane did was with the Spawn titles, every month he had one artist do all the covers for the main covers for all four of his series. So the one month it was Chris Stevens. He did all four covers for the Spawn titles, and the cover A for Gunslinger Spawn 21 by Chris Stevens was instantly one that I saw. I was like, that is amazing. I didn't really know. I didn't know he was repped by Felix. Didn't know much about it. It wasn't immediately on my radar as one to get just because I didn't know, how his art was sold or how much it would be or anything like that. But then during one of Felix's drops, he teased that he, had this cover was going to be available, and I thought, okay, I will try because everyone knows how difficult the Felix art drops are. But hey, it worked. I got it, and Felix does. If you do, since I knew I was going to go after this, I emailed him prior to see if we could set up a payment plan, and he does that limited payment plan spots available, and he had one, so signed up, and I got the cover. So yeah, this doesn't have really anything to do with the story, but I love the kind of supernatural, like octopus demon, whatever Gunslinger Spawn is fighting, and then also has that the Old West building architecture in the background, and it's just one that I love. And when I spoke to Chris Stevens over email, and he said that his goal for the four titles that month were to have a limited color palette for each cover. And he's known for his kind of very vivid and vivid color palettes. So his goal was to have it be limited. But when he started, he said this one was going to be, I think he said, like an orange and brown was going to be the main colors of this piece. Then he threw in some green, and he said, well, at that point he just kind of kept going. It became a more vivid piece. So yeah, this one, I stare at this one a lot. I mean, there's always things that I pick up on that I didn't see before. I love how he has this green outline going around the figure. It's like a light green. Um, it really makes it pop off the page. But yeah, this yeah, there's, I'm sorry. I'm just even after I'm seeing this piece a lot, when I actually take the time to look at it again, I get lost in it. So that's exactly what just happened. If you noticed, I just was like, oh, this is really cool. So anyway, that's just speaks to why I love this piece so much. That's why it's my number 3. So okay, moving on to number 2. Uh, and this is actually really cool. I talked about Brett Booth before. Talked about Gunslinger Spawn. Talked about Gunslinger Spawn issue 21 before. I was able to secure both covers, cover A and cover B, to Gunslinger Spawn number 21. And this one, when I saw this one solicited, it was actually solicited to be Gunslinger Spawn number 19. But then they pushed it back for whatever reason. But it instantly became my favorite Brett Booth image of Gunslinger Spawn, and I had to do what I had to do to get this piece. And I remember it was like earlier on in this year. I was watching the Super Bowl, and I think it was the playoff. Yeah, I think it was the Super Bowl. I was watching football, and I emailed Adelso Corona, the inker on the series, and this is one that he had. So I immediately set up, you know, I think I saw it a little bit before, but then I had contacted him, and then we were going back and forth a little bit. Then he, confirmed that it was one that he had, and then we set it up. So yeah, I I love the colors on this one, and actually I'll switch it over to the colors now. They just are amazing. They just are beautiful. But I love this one because it actually does kind of do with have something to do with the story at the time. Gunslinger Spawn, as an agent of hell, he was infected by an angel in the story, and he kind of absorbed them, and at one point he popped out angel wings, which was a beautiful 2-page spread. But it's kind of that heaven and hell fight is always a part of the Spawn story mythos. So to have the Gunslinger Spawn splashing or crashing through a stained glass window, it represents the character incredibly well. Yeah, this one, I every time I look at it, I am speechless. Adelso's inks on this, I love how he does the whiteout kind of flex to kind of give it a grittier style, and he does that a lot in his inking of Brett Booth, and I really love Adelso's inks over Brett Booth's pencils. So they are a wonderful team, and they left the Gunslinger Spawn title, and with at issue 24, but they're jumping over, and they're going to be on the Spawn, the main title, starting at issue 350. And I haven't bought the main series Spawn for years. I mean, ever since I probably around issue 100 when Greg Capullo left. I did buy a couple issues when Ken Lashley was on Gunslinger, when he was on Spawn, but that was when they reintroduced Gunslinger Spawn. So I bought those couple issues, but then I stopped reading the main title. But I will start buying the main title now that Brett and Adelso are moving to that. So yeah, this one easily makes the top 5. And in any other year, this would probably be my number 1. But we'll get to that one right now. So I've talked about my main comics love of Death and Return of Superman. And those pages are they're sought after, they're expensive, they don't surface that often. But what happened starting last year and then into this year, artist John Bogdanov, he was on the Man of Steel title. He has been selling his his stash that he's kept for 30 some years, that he's been selling them at auction. And that was when I knew that that was going on. That was a goal. That was a main goal of this year, was to get something. So I kind of looked at what was available, put some bids on some earlier pages, didn't get them, and then this one popped up, and clearly I got it. But this one is a great example of the character of Steele. It's a great example of John's style at the time. John had a style that always kind of changed, and it got more cartoony, a little looser. There was when he started on Man of Steel, there was definitely had that like Fleischer vibe from the cartoon, and then it moved into kind of where he was with Steel, and this is one of my favorite eras of John Bogdanov's art. So to get a page that Steel is a character that his main motivation when he started was to help get the Toastmaster weapons off the street that he helped create and design, that got into the hands of street level gangs. And he, when Superman died, he took it upon himself that he said, okay, I'm gonna step up. I'm gonna take care of this problem. And so this is a page that it fits into, he's been getting shot at by street level gangs. But it also is context to what's going on at the time. Man of Steel 25 was the issue where Superman officially returned to Metropolis. So it wonderfully has a cameo from Cyborg, Superman, and Superboy on this page as well. So it gives the context of what's happening at the time. Like, they all kind of thought Eradicator, as Cyborg Superman set Eradicator up to look like he was the one who destroyed Coast City. So Steele's kind of thinking, I thought I got through to him. But yeah, this one it just puts it right into the story of when Superman returned. It gives context to Steele as a character of who he is, and it's also just a very strong, powerful image of Steele. And I love that hand in the foreground reaching out. So it has some wonderful depth, thick outline on Steele. Also, it's a relic of the time that has the pasted on sound effects, the word bubbles, so many things about this page. Just put it right there in that top spot for the year. It's been an amazing year for me. I really did kind of pare things down some. Like I talked about, getting rid of the Star Wars art. I really want to focus on the things that I really, really enjoy. And, Death and Return of Superman, I'm a broken record. That always will be the most important and my favorite story in comics. So a lot of what I get revolves around that, be it, commissions from those artists, the pages, if they ever pop up, and I can afford them at the time, that's my top focus. And for 2024, I don't think I will pick up. I mean, if the opportunity is there, I would love to, but I don't think I'll go for more of that art, more of like the Death and Return of Superman, just because it's so expensive and it would really kind of zap my budget probably for the year. But I really am trying to pare down, but focus on main goals. So that's represented in the top 5. Brett Booth, I love his art. I will continue to support both Brett and Adelso where I can. Ramona Fiore, will continue to support her wherever I can. And even if it's art that is not supporting her directly, but if I find something from, like I said, Aquaman, Metamorpho, Plastic Man, reasonable pages. I have a Super Friends page, so that's kind of represented, and it's a team shot. So that I have. But yeah, so and then Tom Riley. Tom Riley is a one that I like I said, spoiler alert, I'll have a package of his art coming soon. And he's one that I'll follow his career. So I really, those are the kind of areas that I that really kind of will focus on for the year. And I'm sure things will pop up, but the things that pop up are typically the things that then leave the collection when you do a kind of refocus type thing. But these are all pieces that I would love to keep in the collection. The only one that may leave would be the Fantastic Four piece, just given the fact, like I said before, that there's something that else that spoke to me even more. I might kind of sacrifice that to, you know, get the other one. But yeah, so that's my look at my 2023 recap, my top five. Of course, there were other pieces that I love that I picked up, but I really had to task myself to focus on just an actual top five. So that was fun. I hope you enjoyed watching this. I know it's a longer video than I typically do, but I appreciate you if you made it this far. I definitely appreciate you watching. And let me know if there's let me know if you're an art collector. In the comments, what are the things that you picked up this year that really spoke to you and meant a lot to you? I'd love to hear from you. And yeah, so thanks for watching, and I will see you soon.